Hey, welcome to the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. My name is Jessica Lorimer, sales coach and leadership expert, and I'm really excited about today's topic because today, animal lover that I am, I'm going to be talking about geese. Okay, I've just realized how ridiculous this sounds, but let's roll with it because I promise you it's a really interesting episode, and it's actually about what geese teach us about being successful in business and about what they teach us about being good human beings. So those two things are very, very important, obviously to sales and obviously to leadership, because ultimately, in order to be successful in your business, you need to work out how to be a leader in your industry. You need to understand how to make people want to buy from you. And you need to know all of the other things in between. So how to be profitable, how to market yourself correctly, and all of that kind of thing. But that all stems from this idea of be a good person and make good money. And honestly, I promise you, geese really are the best people/birds to help you see how to do that in the easiest way. So I'm going to roll with this one. This week, and this is how this topic has come up, this week I had a new tattoo, which I'm very excited about. If you haven't seen it, there are lots of pictures on Facebook. You can go and check it out. It's a bunch of birds on my collarbone flying around in this kind of colourful watercolour environment. It's very, very cool. It sounds awful now I'm describing it, but it's actually very nice. It's very tasteful. If you don't like tattoos, it might not be for you. But this week I was sat in the tattoo parlour, which incidentally had a huge Harry Potter theme. I was very excited about that. It's one of the reasons I chose that particular tattoo parlour. And I was having this tattoo, and the chap who was putting the needle into my skin repeatedly was asking me, why did you choose this particular tattoo? Because obviously a lot of people, they have tattoos that are meaningful. And usually when they are meaningful, it's a portrait of somebody or it's a particular date or name. And it's something that is quite easy to understand why that person would want it and why it's meaningful to them. But obviously mine was just a bunch of birds flying around on my collarbone. And so he asked, what is the meaning behind it? Is there anything? And I said yes, and I laughed, and I was kind of embarrassed because I didn't really want to share the story of why I was having this particular tattoo. But obviously, on the podcast, I have to be honest, right? I have to be transparent. I have to tell you guys the things, even when they sound a little bit ridiculous. And that's how this episode came into play. So the reason behind getting my tattoo is that actually, I'm not a big bird fan. Okay, we'll start out with that. Despite the fact that I now have them permanently inked onto my body, I'm not a massive bird fan. They freak me out a little bit. Pigeons in particular. I don't know whether anyone else has this. And if you do, please email me and let me know so I know I'm not alone. But it's the way that their heads move and their feet kind of do this weird little flappy, waddly thing. I'm actually doing it with my hands, and I know that you can't see it, but imagine it and you'll get it, right? They do this weird, like their head goes forward and then it goes back and their feet are flapping, and it just freaks me out a little bit. But when I was younger, I had a particularly terrifying experience with geese. Okay, so my mum took me to a big kind of petting zoo thing. And it was just after Christmas. It's very cold. We were in Ireland, beautiful, but freezing. And I had a new Christmas present, okay, which was a big white fluffy coat. Very, very fluffy. I have to point this out. I was 6 years old, so it was quite small, kind of, I want to say cherubic looking. I looked like I was very innocent and sweet, and actually I was a complete nightmare. So it was a very disconcerting image. But anyway, walking along in this petting zoo, and it's all lovely, and there's little goats everywhere, and there's lambs, and I'm stroking everything, getting very excited and feeding them with a little milk bottle and thing. We go to this lake piece of the petting zoo, and there's this huge lake, and everyone's feeding the ducks, and there's like ducks and swans and geese, and it's all very lovely. And then in something that I can only describe like The Walking Dead / some kind of zombie apocalypse, it was like time stopped, okay? And these geese turned around and they just looked at me. And it was quite scary because I was quite small. And I kid you not, all of these geese and swans and ducks start chasing me, right? Now I'm 6 years old. I'm also very, very small. I don't know whether I've mentioned that, but I was kind of like the smallest kid in my class. And I'm wearing this huge white fluffy coat in January in a place that's very muddy, and I'm having to actually run, like full sprint. And these birds are running, and birds are surprisingly fast, right? So they're running after me, going meh, 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 or whatever the noises that they make, and kind of like nipping at this coat. And I remember looking around for my mum, because obviously I'm 6 years old and I'm terrified. And she was sat on the floor laughing so hard I thought she might pass out, because she couldn't quite believe what had just happened and also thought it was hilarious. So eventually, luckily, a park keeper came over with a very big stick, and he basically yelled at me to take this coat off. He's like, take the coat off and throw it on the floor. And I was, very upset because it's a Christmas present, but I also realized that I may die because birds would probably eat me in my 6-year-old brain. And so I ripped the coat off, threw it on the ground, and watched him, whilst crying my eyes out, with all of these birds kind of just stamping all over it and pecking it to death like it was some kind of weird, epic bird zombie horror film. And it kind of scarred me for life. So believe me, I'm not a massive fan of birds. But anyway, I was telling, when I was about 18 years old, I was telling one of my managers about this. And at that point in time, I was working in jewelry sales for a large company who is based in the US and in the UK. They own a lot of significant jewelry companies. And he was laughing his head off because he thought it was hilarious, which, looking back, I can sort of see the funny side now, but I'm still a little bit touchy about it. But anyway, he was laughing about it, and he said, geese are actually really intelligent animals. And at that point, I laughed because I was like, I was wearing a coat and they chased me because they thought I was a bird. Okay, they can't be that bright. But anyway, he said, geese actually are phenomenal when it comes to demonstrating leadership. And I said, how do you work that one out? He said, well, they're actually really smart communicators. And he proceeded to tell me about during the migration season. So when birds migrate to sunnier climes, and geese fly in like this huge V formation. So if you've ever seen Canadian geese or anything like that, you'll know they fly in this huge V-shaped formation, and they are constantly honking. They make this like incredible honking sound, which I was going to try, but I just can't. And they do it pretty much constantly. And scientists and ornithologists, massive bird watchers, couldn't work out for a long time why they flew that way or what they were constantly honking about. And it got to the point where people did some studies, and they soon realized that actually what was happening was the goose at the front, the leader goose, as we shall call him or her, was constantly communicating with all the other geese. And when that leader goose got tired, it would produce a specific kind of honk that would alert other geese to let them know that the leader was tired. And then what would happen would be that a goose from the back of the group would fly to the front and let the leader goose take a position at the back so that it could rest, so that it could recuperate, and so that it wasn't getting as tired. And I thought that was incredible. Now, my boss used it in a sales environment. He was like, look, I feel like we should all come together kind of like geese, at which point the whole sales floor erupted into giggles because, nobody really wants to be told that they have to behave like a goose. But the idea, he said, was if we feel like we're struggling, we should honk. I'm not entirely sure that I ever honked, but I definitely did ask for advice on occasion when I felt like I was overwhelmed or that I wasn't performing at my peak. It made me always think about this goose story. And over time, I've become a little bit obsessed with geese and all of the other phenomenal things they do. And I think he was right. When he talked about the fact that geese are phenomenal leaders, maybe he was just saying it as a joke, or maybe it's something that he'd picked up from, National Geographic or something. But actually, he was right. There are a lot of things and there are a lot of lessons that we can learn about business and about selling effectively from geese. And that's what I want to run through today. So obviously, the first thing that we can learn from them is that geese are hugely collaborative. Okay, so when they migrate to these sunnier climes, it's really interesting. They fly in this V formation, and the reason is that it actually gives them more lift. Okay, so as a collective, it makes it much easier for them to fly. There's much less air resistance, and apart from the leading goose, the rest of them are pretty much coasting because they're not breaking through that initial patch of air. So they're really smart in that they understand that in order for the group to be successful, or in order for any individual to be successful, they have to work together as a team. And I think that's a phenomenal idea, because in business and in sales, we have the same thing. When someone works as an individual, what we tend to find is that they get burnt out very quickly. They're very competitive. They worry all the time about their clients being poached. They worry about people stealing their content and things. And it can be quite a negative and quite a lonely place to be. But actually, in terms of being amazing in your business, so in terms of maximizing your PR opportunities, in terms of maximizing your sales opportunities, sales that you make via referral, collaboration always wins. It is so much better to collaborate with trusted, and I'm going to stress that word, trusted industry leaders who are selling congruent offers to yours to help build your warm audience, and to help you deliver amazing content, and to help you build this tribe around you, as well as a tribe of buyers who will buy again and again and again. Because obviously, no man is an island. And I can't remember who said that quote either, and it would be really annoying if I had to stop now and type it and search it, but I'm sure we can find it for the show notes. But someone very smart said, no man is an island. And I always think that when it comes to entrepreneurship, especially when you see people who are running businesses alone, because typically a lot of people who are listening to this podcast are solopreneurs. We're people who perhaps hire in VAs occasionally or all the time. We hire subcontractors frequently, but the day-to-day is just us in an office on our own doing the work. And that can actually be quite a depressing thought. And it's one of the reasons why things like Facebook communities, mastermind groups, membership communities have all taken off in recent years and have produced phenomenal sales results for people, is because people understand that collaboration is key. They don't want to do it on their own. Humans are naturally social. We like to find out more about people. We like to talk to people. We thrive on knowing that we're not having to do everything alone. And so actually, the lesson that we learn here is that we do need to have a certain amount of collaboration and a certain amount of connection in our businesses to be successful. So whether that means that you network appropriately, you find a network of peers who can support you, who can celebrate with you, who can commiserate your losses with you, whether it means that you are gaining a network for more visibility reasons. So you're boosting, I see a lot of Instagram pods and things like that recently where people want to boost their amount of followers and engagement. So they're interacting with people specifically to make those things happen. The key thing is, though, that collaboration is always going to be key in getting more referrals, in getting more sales into your business, and in generally having better business mental health. When you have other people that you can talk to when you are going through something particularly rubbish in your business, or when you have people who you can share a win with. I know that when I first created my first ever landing page, I was over the moon, but none of my friends understood what I was talking about. It wasn't until I went into a Facebook group and I said, hey, I just created this landing page and it took me, 3 million hours, but I did it and I'm really proud of myself, that other people were able to go, oh my goodness, I remember when I did that and it was so difficult, but well done, and first of many. And I was really excited. It felt really good to be around people that got it. And that's what we learn. Collaboration makes life easier. Connection makes life easier. And community makes life a lot easier. So when you're looking to build your business, don't just think about the immediate cash that you're bringing in. Think about these other things instead, the connection, the community, all those kinds of elements that actually really do make your business a better, more fun and nicer place to be on a daily basis. Okay? And then we have obviously the second lesson from Geese, because I'm going to honk back to the geese here, right? the honking itself is actually not just noise. So I have been guilty of this. I thought geese were just really noisy and, quite frankly, very annoying and vicious. But it turns out that it's actually not just noise. They communicate constantly. When they're flying, they're communicating about rest stops, they're communicating about where water is, they're communicating if they are tired, if they need help, if a goose has fallen out of the formation. And on land, they are pretty vocal about defending their young, and they're constantly chatting and honking together. And scientists think that some of it's just pure joy at flying together and hanging out together, which I think is pretty cool. I think that's quite nice, and I think it's really relevant to building a successful business, because communication is key in business. Okay, it really is. I can't stress this enough. I think in the online world specifically, we tend to assume that communication is important when we're communicating our market message. When we're trying to get clients, communication is key, because we're all trying to be out there in every Facebook group, writing every email, doing the Facebook Lives, recording all the podcasts, etc. But actually, being a business owner, being a successful business owner, is not just about communicating, I want the sale, or I want you to buy from me. It's about all of the steps in the relationship building process. It's the, I want to get to know you. It's the, here's how I can help you. Here's the solution I can provide for you. Here's how I can continue to deliver amazing customer service for you. And then on the other side of that, on the flip side, we have the part of being a business owner is having the tough conversations. It's about addressing things with your team when people are not performing. It's about having the confidence to take a stand for something that you really believe in. It's about selling with integrity and being unafraid to do it in the right way, to make money in a good way, and to stick up and to stand up against those people who perhaps aren't selling in that way. It's about not being afraid to call out the myths or the BS that is going on in your industry. And that is part of being a business owner, and it's part of being an industry leader. Having the good conversations, having sales conversations, delivering your marketing message, communicating with clients, making sure that they're having the best experience, but also having the tough conversations. Being able to deliver the tough messages, being able to give constructive feedback, being able to deliver the key deliverables that you're looking for your team to perform to, or the key performance indicators. There are lots of tough conversations that you are going to have as a business owner. And being able to communicate is a huge part of that, being able to communicate effectively. Because what tends to happen, what I see a lot of in terms of people who don't sell, and who aren't having sales success in their business, is that they don't communicate. They find it really difficult to say to their audience, hey, I know that you're struggling with this problem, and here is the solution. Because we're so worried about how people will perceive us. We are so worried that with that one piece of communication, people are going to think we're sleazy or judgmental, or that we are gross or icky, or giving them the hard sell. And we don't stop to think that actually we should be in constant communication with our audience. We should be constantly talking to them about what their biggest problem is right now, how they'd like to solve it, what they're going to do next, what was their step before they got to the problem, how are they planning on managing themselves out of it. We always need to have that constant line of communication, and we need to keep it open, because what we're seeing from some of the biggest marketers out there is that everything should be automated. Oh, drop them a survey. Oh, just do a launch with a 3-part video series and then a masterclass, and you'll have a multi-million-dollar launch. And that's not working anymore. It's not becoming as effective as it was. And you can see that most of the major marketers are actually teaming up with other huge marketers in their industry, with other industry leaders, and they're promoting a lot of affiliate products. They're all becoming affiliates for each other's programs. And that's smart, because again, it's about that collaborative effect that we talked about earlier. They're leveraging warm audiences in order to make the collective group more money. but also they're in that constant communication. They're in constant communication with each other, knowing what each other are doing with their audiences, knowing what's going to appeal to them, and also with their own audience, with their own ideal clients, knowing what their biggest pain points are and being able to cater to that themselves, or being able to refer them to somebody else who can, and earning an affiliate income as a result. So communication really is key when you want to be a business owner versus somebody who just makes money online. You've got to be looking at how you communicate. Are you somebody who is able to communicate with empathy? Are you somebody who's able to communicate professionally, even when you are seething inside? And I see this a lot, when we have clients who are particularly hard work or who are going through a terrible situation with another service provider, we want to come to their defense. Like I often tell my clients, I'm like a mama lion. If anyone goes after one of my clients, I'm going to go to war on that person. But it has to be handled in a certain way. Okay. And there is a time and there is a place for communicating in a professional manner. And there is a time and a place for being completely 100% yourself. And hey, if you did something mean, screw you. Never on email. Just throwing that out there. Okay. So that's the second piece around how you need to be successful in sales and how you need to be successful as a business owner. You need to be able to communicate. And then the third piece and the final piece is about helping each other. Right. And this was phenomenal for me. I am somebody who watches films, and if an animal dies, we have to turn it off. It's one of the reasons I've never watched Marley and Me, because honestly, I know that Marley will die, and it doesn't matter how sweet he is, and it doesn't matter how loved he is. I also know that I will be a sobbing mess when I have to watch him pass away into the rainbow garden or whatever it is. So I don't often watch films where animals die. But geese, and they do this phenomenal thing, right? If a goose gets sick, or if a goose gets shot, or if a goose is old and needs to drop out of the flying formation, 2 other geese go and help it, right? And they all fly down to land. And the bit that really it made my heart go a bit warm and fuzzy, right? The bit that made me go warm and fuzzy was the fact that those 2 geese, they don't just fly down to land with the other goose who's sick or injured and just kind of then fly straight back up. They stay there. They stay until the other goose dies, which is a little bit depressing there, a little bit dark, sorry, or until it's able to fly again. And I think that's huge, okay? And the reason I think it's a huge business lesson is because it's about loyalty. Right? Sometimes what happens in business is that we all jump from coach to coach to coach, from miracle pill to miracle pill to miracle pill, to group to group to group. And the reason that it's not successful is because we never make a big enough presence in any one space, or we never make enough progress with any one coach, or we don't give any one course or program the right attention that it deserves. And therefore, we don't make a success of it. Loyalty in business to yourself, to your clients, to your community, and to anything that you purchase and invest in is huge. And it gets you results. If you want to buy a program or hire a coach or invest in a team, the simplest and easiest way to make an ROI from that is to be loyal, is to actually show up, be visible, do the work, be consistent. These are the business lessons that we hear all of the time that aren't sexy, so we don't do them. We sit back and we go, oh yeah, but somebody else can do that. Somebody else can hang out in the group. Somebody else can take care of my customer service. Somebody else can have the tough conversation about integrity. Somebody else can implement the stuff that person's trying to teach me on the course. And then what happens is we don't get the results that we want, and we blame. Blame is a natural human reaction, but it's not a very nice one that comes out. And so what happens is we go, well, that magic bullet didn't work. That magic pill solution didn't work. That coach must be rubbish because I didn't get my ROI. And in reality, we have to look at, were we loyal? Did we show up? Did we do the work? Were we consistent? And if we were, and it didn't work, then that's on them. But if we can't put our hand on our heart, honestly, and say, actually, I didn't give it 100%. I didn't show up in the way that I needed to. They've flagged problems and I didn't do anything to change them. Then that's on you. And it was a time that you weren't loyal to your business. You didn't fly down and wait for that part of your business to recuperate. You just let it fall out of formation and die. And that, that's a huge thing for me. And that comes into any area of your business. It's also about loyalty to client delivery. And I think this is something that we don't often talk about in the online space, because there is a very large part of people who will say the client delivery is all about the client. The client is the one who gets results. And yes, the client is the one who gets results. I firmly believe that. And absolutely, it relies on the client doing the work, showing up, being consistent. But it also depends on you giving your client 150%. Are you teaching them the things that they really need to know? Or are you blowing smoke up their skirt? As the lovely Colleen Kochenek from a couple of weeks ago would say, are you really showing up? Are you giving them constructive feedback? Are you pushing them to be the best that they can be? Or are you just kind of sitting back and letting them have their magic pill solution and not challenging them and not taking them to the step further that they need to be? Okay, so that's a huge one for me. It's about loyalty. It's about being able to see that you are fully committed to your process. And then another element of that for me is about, asking for help and not being afraid to temporarily look a bit like you're behind or feel a bit stupid. Asking for help in business is the quickest way for you to learn. It's the quickest way for you to learn through not having to make the mistakes yourself. So if you're somebody who doesn't like to ask for help and you want to run a successful business, get over that. Because honestly, I promise you, I'm the most self-critical person on the planet, and I'm very, very bad, or I used to be very, very bad at asking for help. But all that happened was that every time I didn't ask for help, I had to keep making mistakes on my own again and again and again. And it cost me thousands and thousands of dollars and also tons of time. And when I talked to people after the problem itself, they'd be like, oh, I wish you'd asked. I'd have told you to do this. Or, oh yeah, I had that a couple of years ago and I just did this. And I'd be sat there thinking, for goodness sake, why didn't I just say? And the reality was that my ego was just bigger than my desire to make my business succeed. I didn't want to look stupid. I didn't want people to think that I didn't know the answer to everything. And the reality was that it cost me growth. It cost me fast growth because I wasn't focusing on getting to the goal that I wanted as quickly as possible. I was so focused on what I thought other people would think of me that I didn't move forward because I didn't ask for help. So if you are struggling, if you are having an issue, ask for help. Ask your biz besties, ask your membership communities, ask your Facebook friends, ask whoever is an authority in that space, who is somebody who is likely to have gone through that experience and is a trusted recommendation so that you can get the answer you need and just move on. Because people actually like to help. We like to support. Again, humans are very much about, especially in the online space, especially in the business space, we are collaborative. We want everyone to succeed. We want to support people. So always ask and get the advice you need and actually use it. Use it just like the goose would. It would use the rest time and it would recuperate and fly away in the ideal world where the goose doesn't die. And use that answer that they give you and actually take action on it. Don't go away and ask the same question 50 squillion times to somebody else, because that really gets people's backs up. But instead, learn, listen to what they're saying, take the answer, go away, action it, and see a different result. Okay, so that's really what you need to be successful in business and in sales, because ultimately a lot of these lessons are very, very similar. In order to be successful in business, you need to have the ability to lead from the front. At some point in your business, you are going to be required to be a leader. You are going to be required to step up. You are going to be required to be challenged. You are going to have to put yourself in a position where other people are looking at you and putting you on a pedestal and making judgments about you. The great thing about being a leader is that you get to make a huge impact. And when you're making a huge impact in the world and you are selling transparently, you're also making a huge income. Okay, so it's not a negative thing to be a leader. You have to grow into it. You have to find the leader style that fits with you. And we'll talk about that later on in the podcast, I'm sure. But you have to be able to step up in that role as and when your business demands. Okay, you also have to be able to ask for help. You have to be able to ask for help from your community, from your biz besties, from your clients, because people want to support you. So next time you launch a podcast, Jessica, I'm looking at myself here, and you want to hit new and noteworthy or hit a specific, place on the Amazon bestseller list or have a really great launch or whatever it looks like, ask people to share the link. Ask people to review it on a specific day, because people want to support you. They want to see you succeed. So ask for help and let them do it, right? Be able to communicate effectively, even when it's hard. And again, communication is key when it comes to selling. If you cannot communicate well, if you cannot communicate the benefits and the transformations that are available to somebody when they work with you, you are going to find it very, very difficult to sell. So make sure that you are investing some of your time and energy into practicing communicating, practicing handling objections, practicing having those tough conversations, practicing those marketing messages, nailing your elevator pitches and your stories, because communication really is what's going to build your relationships with those prospective buyers, and it's what's going to help them make that decision to purchase from you. And then obviously, you've got to be a good person. Okay, I've said this a couple of times during the episode today, but in business, you get to be the type of business owner that you want to be. You can either be the business owner who just focuses on money, who doesn't care where it comes from, and you don't care how it's made. If that's you, probably go and watch that Breaking Bad series, and then, let me know how that works out for you. And then you can be another kind of business owner. And this is the business owner that I choose to be. I choose to make a lot of money, but I choose to make good money. And the reason that it's good money is because it comes from a place of integrity. I only ever sell something that I truly believe in. I only ever sell transparently. And I always deliver to my clients. So when I go to sleep at night, I don't sit there and think about the people I've ripped off that day. I don't sit there and worry that I'm going to get found out for some massive scam. I go to bed and I sleep easily, and I know that my clients are working hard, that I'm supporting them 150%, and that the money that I'm earning is reflecting the kind of person that I want to be, who is making a huge impact on the world, who's helping her clients get the best results, and ultimately who is proud of the money that she's able to make as a result. So just have a think about that. That is the first, I think, deep dive that we've really done on business and entrepreneurship as a whole, and certainly leadership. So I'd love to know what you think about that, whether you've learned any lessons from Geese, because who knew that they were such a fascinating bird, really? I mean, I genuinely just thought they were really irritating and quite aggressive, but they're actually not. And now I have 8 of them on my collarbone. Don't worry, it's only silhouettes. They're very small and not massively noticeable. If I'd have had 8 real life-sized geese tattooed on my body, I think they might have actually been bigger than me. So if you've enjoyed that episode, let me know. Email me always, jessica@jessicalorimer.com, if you have any questions, if there's anything that you think, yeah, that really resonated, or, oh, Jess, I think you went way off track with this. And also make sure that you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss out on any other episodes. And if you did really enjoy it, please leave us a review. Let me know what you think of the podcast. It's really, really useful for me to get feedback, and it's also really good at keeping us in some of the special iTunes rankings, because those are pretty important. So I'm told. So if you have enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe, make sure you leave us a review. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I will see you on Friday. We have an amazing guest and we're talking all about the ins and outs of launching. It's very fun. We go very in depth with a funnel plan. So make sure you're there for that episode because I think you will love it. I'll see you then.